Have you ever felt like life is drifting without direction, like a leaf caught in the wind, tossed and turned by forces you cannot see? It's a question as old as time itself. Does my life truly have a purpose? Is there a plan for me, or am I simply a fleeting accident in an indifferent universe? To ponder this is to touch on something profound. Life, in its very essence, is not a chaotic accident. Imagine a tapestry, woven not hastily, but with deliberate hands. Each thread, each color, placed with intention, even if the full picture remains hidden until the very end. This is the truth that many hesitate to accept because it demands trust beyond sight. There are moments, perhaps many, when the journey feels uncertain, when suffering casts a shadow on hope. Yet it is precisely in these valleys that the purpose of our lives is quietly forged. Struggles are not interruptions to God's plan. They are the tools by which we are refined. Like gold purified by fire, our character, our faith, and our understanding grow through hardship. It is in the patient endurance of these trials that the unseen hand guides us closer to our destiny. Purpose is not a treasure buried for immediate discovery. It unfolds slowly, often in ways that defy human expectation. The impatience of the heart is met with a divine timing that is both perfect and mysterious. We long to control our story, to script our own success, but there is a deeper joy found when we align ourselves with a will greater than our own. True fulfillment arises not from grasping what we desire, but from surrendering to what we were made for. You were not created as a copy or a mere bystander in this world's drama. You are a unique thread in the grand design. There is no one else who can play your role or tell your story as you can. This realization, that your life carries significance beyond the mundane, should stir in you a profound sense of worth and responsibility. It is a call to awaken, to step boldly into the life you were made to live. When we look around at the world, it is easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer chaos of life. Events happen without warning, people come and go, and often the outcomes seem random or even unfair. We see suffering, joy, success, failure, and everything in between, tangled in a way that makes it difficult to discern any rhyme or reason. It's natural to wonder if, beneath this apparent disorder, there exists any meaning at all, or if life is simply a series of disconnected incidents, tossed together by chance. Yet, if we consider carefully, the idea that life is merely random and purposeless begins to fall apart. It does not align with the human experience of order, meaning, and beauty. The very fact that we ask questions about purpose suggests that there is something more beneath the surface. To live without purpose, without hope of meaning, would be to live in a void so bleak that it contradicts our deepest instincts for growth, connection, and truth. Imagine a master storyteller writing a novel. Every chapter, every line, every character has a place, a purpose within the grand narrative. The plot is carefully constructed, so that events which seem trivial at first later reveal themselves as essential turning points. Characters who appear minor carry within them seeds of transformation. The story's depth lies not in random details, but in the intricate weaving of many threads toward a profound conclusion. This is not unlike the life we are living. Though the full picture of our existence remains unseen to us, there is reason to believe that the universe is not a haphazard accident, but a carefully woven tapestry. The concept of God's plan does not mean that life is predetermined like a script where we have no freedom. Instead, it suggests a divine artistry where freedom, chance, and human choice play their part within a grand design that transcends our limited vision. It is like a composer writing a symphony. The musicians bring their own skill and emotion, but the music flows from the composer's vision into a harmonious whole. In our lives, we encounter moments that seem disconnected: loss, joy, confusion, peace, often without immediate explanation. A painful event may leave us questioning why it happened, especially when it disrupts the life we envisioned for ourselves. Yet, just as a single stitch may appear meaningless until it is part of a completed fabric, these moments often have a purpose we cannot yet see. They contribute to our growth, our learning, or the preparation for something greater. This perspective calls us to patience and trust. It asks us to acknowledge that our understanding is limited, and that meaning often reveals itself only in hindsight. Just as a puzzle's final image is unclear until all the pieces come together, so too is the meaning of our lives sometimes a mystery until we look back and see how the pieces fit perfectly. Belief in a carefully woven narrative does not deny the reality of suffering or hardship. It does not offer a simplistic answer that everything is good in the moment of pain. Rather, it acknowledges that life's complexity includes dark and difficult chapters, which are part of the story's depth. Like the shadows in a painting that give contrast and definition to the light, hardships serve to shape our character, deepen our compassion, and refine our understanding of what truly matters. There is a profound comfort in this view. When we face uncertainty or despair, knowing that our lives are part of a greater plan can bring peace that transcends circumstance. It reminds us that no experience is wasted. Every joy and sorrow has its place in the mosaic of meaning. It also empowers us to find purpose in our struggles, knowing that these two are woven into a divine design. This idea elevates human dignity. If life were random, our efforts, hopes, and dreams might seem ultimately futile. But if life is a narrative with intention, then every choice we make, every act of kindness, every step toward truth matters deeply. We become co-creators with the divine, partners in unfolding a story that is richer and more meaningful than we could ever imagine. In practical terms, this belief encourages us to live deliberately. It calls us to seek understanding, to reflect on our experiences, and to trust that even the confusing or painful moments serve a purpose. It invites us to embrace our roles with courage and faith, knowing that the divine hand is at work behind the scenes, weaving our story with skill and love. This understanding also challenges us to resist despair when life seems meaningless or unfair. Instead of surrendering to hopelessness, we are invited to hold fast to the conviction that our lives matter and that every event, no matter how small, contributes to a grand design. It is a call to hope, to perseverance, and to faith in the invisible threads that connect our past, present, and future. The belief in a carefully woven narrative transforms the way we see ourselves and the world. It turns life from a series of random, disconnected moments into a meaningful journey toward a purpose far greater than our immediate understanding. It teaches us to trust, to hope, and to live with a deeper sense of meaning, even when the road ahead is unclear. This truth is not a comforting myth, but a challenge, a call to faith that embraces uncertainty and complexity with courage. It is the recognition that while we cannot always see the whole tapestry, we are part of a story that is being written with wisdom, love, and purpose. And this, perhaps, is the most profound hope we can hold in the face of life's mysteries. One of the most difficult truths to accept in life is that clarity about our purpose rarely comes all at once. We often long for a sudden, unmistakable moment when the path ahead is illuminated, when everything about our life's meaning becomes clear and unmistakable. Yet, for most people, purpose does not reveal itself in bright flashes or simple answers. Instead, it unfolds slowly, often through seasons marked by challenge, uncertainty, and personal transformation. The journey toward understanding our purpose is rarely a straight line. It is more like a winding road with unexpected bends, hills, and valleys. Sometimes the road is smooth, and we move confidently forward, but more often we find ourselves stumbling, questioning, and even retreating. This process, while uncomfortable, is essential. It is through this very struggle that purpose is shaped and refined. Trials serve as the crucible in which our deeper identity is formed. When life is easy, it can be tempting to focus only on comfort and immediate gratification, but true purpose demands more. It calls us into a process of growth that stretches us beyond our current limits. It is in the tension of adversity that we develop resilience, patience, and wisdom. These qualities cannot be hurried or bypassed. They require time, perseverance, and often a willingness to endure discomfort. Growth through trials also reveals aspects of ourselves that would otherwise remain hidden. When everything is going well, it is easy to maintain a surface-level understanding of who we are. But difficulties peel back the layers of pretense and complacency, exposing the core of our character. They challenge us to confront fears, insecurities, and limitations that shape our responses to life. In this way, hardship is a kind of mirror, one that shows us who we truly are and what we are capable of becoming. The unfolding of purpose through trials also teaches us humility. It reminds us that we do not hold all the answers, and that our journey is part of a larger story that we cannot fully control or predict. This humility is not defeat. Rather, it is a recognition of our place within a greater whole. It frees us from the burden of having to figure it all out at once, and invites us instead to trust the process, to take one step at a time. Patience becomes a vital companion on this journey. We live in a culture that prizes instant results and immediate gratification, yet the pursuit of purpose defies such speed. It asks for a long view, a willingness to wait and to work quietly, even when the destination is not yet visible. This patience is not passive waiting, but active endurance, an engagement with life that holds on to hope and faith, even when progress feels slow or invisible. Often, the moments of greatest clarity come not in the absence of struggle, but because of it. When we look back on difficult seasons, we frequently see that those were the times when we learned the most, when our purpose became clearer in the lessons we gained from pain, loss, or challenge. The cracks in our lives become places where light enters, illuminating a path that was previously obscured. The process of growth through trials also deepens our empathy and compassion for others. Having walked through difficulty ourselves, we are more able to understand the struggles of those around us. Purpose, then, is not just about personal fulfillment. It is about becoming someone who can contribute meaningfully to the lives of others. This service, born from experience and growth, gives purpose a communal and relational dimension. It is important to acknowledge that this journey is not easy or quick. Many give up along the way, discouraged by the lack of immediate answers or frustrated by repeated setbacks. Yet those who persevere discover a deeper truth, that purpose is not a static destination, but a dynamic journey of becoming. It is something that unfolds in the moment-to-moment choices we make, in the courage to continue despite uncertainty, and in the faith to believe that even what feels like failure is part of a greater plan. This unfolding process challenges the modern desire for control. We want to map out our lives with precision, to know exactly where we are headed and how to get there. But life's most meaningful purposes are rarely revealed in a neat, predictable way. Instead, they come through the messy, unpredictable experiences that teach us about our strengths and weaknesses, our hopes and fears, and ultimately about the deeper reasons we were placed here. To embrace this process is to accept that life is a classroom, and trials are the lessons that shape our hearts and minds. It invites us to see setbacks not as punishments or failures, but as necessary steps in the education of the soul. It calls us to remain open to learning, even when the curriculum is difficult and the teacher is unseen. This perspective also transforms how we view ourselves during hard times. Instead of feeling lost or worthless when clarity is absent, we begin to understand that these are the very moments in which purpose is gestating. The silence, the struggle, the waiting, they are not emptiness, but the fertile soil in which growth takes root. Faith in this process sustains us and encourages us to keep moving forward, even when the way is unclear. In this light, purpose is less about a fixed goal and more about an evolving journey of growth, discovery, and transformation. It is a path walked not only with our own efforts, but with trust in a wisdom greater than ourselves. The process may be slow and fraught with difficulty, but it is also rich with meaning, hope, and the promise of becoming all that we were meant to be. One of the most challenging realities we face in life is the recognition that God's plan for us often looks very different from the plans we make for ourselves. From an early age, we are taught to set goals, to dream big, and to work hard to achieve the life we envision. We create detailed maps in our minds, careers, relationships, successes, and comforts we hope to attain. Yet, when life unfolds, it rarely aligns perfectly with these expectations. This divergence can be deeply unsettling. It can feel like a betrayal of our hopes, a failure of our efforts, or a sign that something is wrong. However, the difference between our expectations and God's plan is not a cause for despair, but an invitation to a deeper trust and understanding. It is a reminder that our perspective is limited, while the divine vision is vast and wise beyond measure. What we perceive as detours, delays, or disappointments may actually be essential parts of a greater design crafted for our ultimate good. When we insist that life must follow our blueprint, we risk missing the richness of what God intends to give us. Our plans are often shaped by immediate desires, societal pressures, or fears, factors that may not align with our true calling or best interest. God's plan, by contrast, encompasses not only the surface of our lives, but the depths of our character, soul, and destiny. It moves beyond what we want in the moment to what we need for lifelong growth, fulfillment, and true joy. This difference can be seen in countless stories throughout history and scripture. People who have faced unexpected hardships, losses, or redirections often discover in hindsight that these experiences were necessary for their growth or service. The path they initially resisted became the very one that led to their deepest purpose. It is a paradox that what we resist or fail to understand at first can become the greatest blessing. God's plan challenges us to surrender control and to release the need to dictate every detail of our lives. This surrender is not a sign of weakness or passivity, but an act of courage and faith. It requires us to acknowledge that our understanding is incomplete and that a higher wisdom is at work. In doing so, we open ourselves to the possibility that what feels like loss or failure may be a doorway to something greater than we can imagine. There is profound comfort in this truth, especially during times of hardship. When life does not go according to our plans, when relationships end, careers shift, or health declines, we can feel abandoned or confused. Yet in those moments, the invitation is to trust that God's plan remains intact and that our story is still unfolding. The pain and disruption, as difficult as they are, may be shaping us in ways that prepare us for blessings yet to come. This understanding also frees us from bitterness or resentment toward life's challenges. Instead of asking, "Why me?" or "What did I do wrong?" we are invited to ask, "What is this teaching me?" or "How might this be part of a larger plan?" This shift in perspective can transform suffering into a source of strength and hope, revealing that God's love is present even in the darkest valleys. Furthermore, God's plan for our lives is marked by an unwavering commitment to our ultimate good, our spiritual, emotional, and eternal well-being. It is not about immediate gratification or worldly success, but about becoming the fullest, most authentic version of ourselves. This means that sometimes what we want in the moment is not what will bring lasting peace or joy. The divine plan may require sacrifice, patience, and trust in things unseen. This idea can also deepen our relationship with God. It invites us to see God not as a distant planner enforcing a rigid script, but as a loving guide who walks with us through every twist and turn. God's plan is relational, not impersonal. It involves dialogue, surrender, and participation. When we align ourselves with this plan, we become co-creators in a journey of transformation and grace. The challenge lies in embracing uncertainty and letting go of our need for immediate answers or control. It means allowing God's plan to unfold in its own time and way, trusting that the final outcome will be good, even if it looks very different from what we expected. This requires faith, patience, and sometimes a willingness to step into the unknown with hope. In the tension between our plans and God's plan, there is an opportunity for profound growth. We learn to navigate disappointment with grace, to cultivate resilience in the face of change, and to deepen our trust in divine wisdom. This process shapes us into people who are not only capable of enduring life's storms, but who also emerge from them with greater strength, clarity, and purpose. The difference between our plans and God's plan invites us to a higher perspective, one that sees beyond the immediate and embraces the eternal. It calls us to trust that even when life takes unexpected turns, we are held in a love that desires our true good above all else. This trust is a source of peace and courage, a beacon guiding us through the unknown toward the fulfillment of a purpose far greater than we can imagine. Living a life aligned with God's purpose is not something we achieve merely by planning or striving harder. It is a journey marked by faith and surrender. These two qualities, faith and surrender, are often misunderstood or undervalued in a world that prizes control, certainty, and self-reliance. Yet they are essential keys that unlock the fulfillment of the divine plan for our lives. Faith is more than a vague hope or wishful thinking. It is a confident trust in something unseen, a steady assurance that there is a meaningful order and goodness guiding the unfolding of our lives, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. Faith sustains us when the path is unclear, when the answers we seek remain elusive, and when challenges press in from every side. It is the quiet strength that whispers, "Though I do not know what tomorrow holds, I trust that there is a purpose behind it." This trust is not a passive resignation, but an active engagement with life. It involves making choices that reflect belief in God's goodness and wisdom, even in the face of fear or doubt. Faith requires courage, the courage to move forward without all the answers, to act in alignment with God's calling even when the outcome is uncertain. It is faith that fuels perseverance through hardship and nurtures hope when despair threatens to overwhelm. Surrender, on the other hand, is often one of the hardest acts for us to embrace. It means letting go of our desire to control every detail of our lives, relinquishing the illusion that we can fully direct our own fate. Surrender does not mean giving up or being passive. Rather, it is the conscious decision to yield our will to a higher purpose, trusting that God's plan is more complete and wise than our own. Surrender invites us to release our fears, anxieties, and the tight grip of expectations that limit us. It asks us to stop resisting life's uncertainties and disruptions, and to open our hearts to the possibility that these very challenges are instruments of growth and transformation. In surrender we find freedom, not the freedom of chaos, but the freedom to live authentically and courageously within the flow of divine providence. Together, faith and surrender create a dynamic tension. Faith encourages us to hope and believe. Surrender calls us to release control and trust. This balance is vital because without faith, surrender can lead to despair. Without surrender, faith can become mere wishful thinking. When combined, They form the fertile ground where God's purpose can take root and flourish. Living in this way transforms how we experience the twists and turns of life. Instead of fighting against the currents of change, we learn to navigate them with grace. We become less defined by our circumstances and more by the Spirit within us, one that is anchored in trust, hope, and love. This spiritual resilience equips us to face setbacks not as dead ends, but as new beginnings. The journey of faith and surrender also deepens our relationship with God. It shifts our focus from demanding answers to cultivating a sense of presence, being fully engaged in the present moment while trusting the unfolding story. This presence allows us to recognize opportunities and blessings that might otherwise go unnoticed. It helps us to listen more attentively to the subtle guidance of conscience, intuition, and divine promptings. Living with faith and surrender opens us to the unexpected ways in which God's purpose is revealed. It invites a posture of humility and openness, allowing us to be surprised by grace and to receive blessings that do not fit our preconceived notions. We begin to understand that God's plan is not a rigid script, but a living, evolving relationship in which we are active participants. Faith and surrender also foster peace amid uncertainty. When we stop trying to control every outcome and start trusting the process, we free ourselves from the burden of anxiety. This peace is not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of a steady assurance that we are held and guided. It empowers us to live boldly and generously, knowing that we are part of a larger story that transcends immediate circumstances. Living by faith and surrender requires practice and patience. It is not a one-time decision, but a daily commitment to trust more deeply and let go more fully. Sometimes this journey involves falling and rising again, moments of doubt followed by renewed hope. Yet, each step taken in faith and surrender brings us closer to the fulfillment of God's purpose for our lives. This way of living also impacts how we relate to others. When we embody faith and surrender, we become sources of encouragement and inspiration to those around us. Our trust in God's plan radiates hope, and our willingness to surrender control invites others to experience the same freedom. In this way, living with faith and surrender extends beyond personal transformation. It becomes a beacon of light in a world often shadowed by fear and uncertainty. Living with faith and surrender is an invitation to participate in the divine dance of life, to move with trust through the unknown, to embrace each moment as part of a sacred journey. It is through this living that God's purpose is not only discovered but realized in its fullness, bringing meaning, joy, and a profound sense of peace that surpasses all understanding.